This is an excerpt from The Calling Cliffs, written by Maggie Schneider, read by Marcus Schneider. Many had been called to this place, and I was no exception. A huge, knotted old willow stood silently along the cliff's edge. Her long branches swayed in the brisk ocean breeze, beckoning you to sit amongst her burly roots, which burrowed into the cliffside and stuck out toward the sea. She was bent, as if she were leaning closely to listen to your secrets without judgment. For many years she had heard my hopes, my dreams, my heartbreaks, and my sorrows. Mine weren't the first tears to water her roots, as she stood sturdy for many years before me. "My life has barely begun," Mom had cried, nestled amongst the willow's roots. I'm only 17. How could I have a baby? How could you leave me after doing this to me? The willow's branches draped over her like a veil as she wept. I'm just so scared." "Shh," the willow would whisper. "Shh, it will be all right," she would sigh. The willow would tell me how Mom was terrified of the future, how Granny and Poppy had disowned her when they found out she was pregnant, how the cliffs had called to her louder and louder, and the hungry rocks would beg and plead for her, and how she never once left the willow's safe embrace. Years later, Mom got married under her branches. The willow rejoiced about being named Mother of the Bride. She bloomed just for the occasion, Mom would tell me. In many ways, I was like Mom when she was my age, minus the pregnant bit. I'm loud, awkward, hesitant, but brave, maybe a little dumb, but most assuredly terrified of the future. When I was young, I sat where the willow's thick trunk split in two and stared out into the great expanse of ocean. Down at the cliff's bottom, waves would crash excitedly against the jagged rocks, and the white foam would swirl enticingly. "You must stay where I can reach you," the willow would say, her voice like the sound of leaves in the wind. "Inside my embrace, you will always be safe." On one day, I would put my frizzy brown hair in some attempt at a ponytail and grab the chewed-up pencil from behind my ear. I had seen many artists do this on TV. And grabbed my $10 sketchbook from my favorite Clifford the Big Red Dog backpack, the one Sarah Shepard made fun of on the first day of grade 2. She said it was so ugly, she thought she would go blind. And I would draw the cliffs for the first of thousands of times. The lines were imperfect, but full of passion. The color scribbled in quickly and inaccurately. It was bad, but I was proud. Proud, that was, until I showed my classmates. Sarah rolled her eyes, and her lackeys tore it from my hands, tearing it in two. "It looks better now anyway," she remarked, her friends snickering behind her. All I could do was shove the pieces back into my Clifford backpack, which I had begun to hate. The willow would comfort me when the kids were mean at school. The cliffs understood my cries. "It will be all right," the willow soothed. Her wispy branches slowly caressed my back. Cruelty is a reflection of the inadequacies within. Their words are nothing more than a smudge from their charcoaled hands. Wash them away, and do not allow yourself to become their twisted self-portrait. I would nod quietly, but in that silence, I would still hear the pull of the cliffs, begging, pleading, teeth gnashing, waves flipping, rocks tumbling. The willow would drape herself over me to shield me from the rocks and the waves, but I couldn't ignore the calls. The first time I ever saw them, I was starstruck. People were diving from the cliffs. I couldn't believe it. 2 women and a man, all in multicolored swimsuits, stood at the edge of the rock face. A man and a woman floated in the open ocean 70 feet below, their eyes just poking out from the frothy waves. The willow had warned me of the dangers of the cliffs, how the ledge was crumbling, how the water enticed, how the rocks tore at you. It instilled a fear in me that had kept me from the edge unless I was sitting in her arms. They told me they felt free when they jumped, that the air would whiz past them, creating an unnatural song, that the spike of adrenaline made them feel more alive than ever before, a feeling I had never felt began to well up in my chest. A tight beating, like my heart wanted to leap from the ledge, but didn't know how.